Hi there, everybody. Quick reminder that I add arthropods in, so this information is not in Chapter 5. I've added it in. We will talk about it later on when we get to, I think, Chapter 15 again. But I like to talk about it here because arthropods are um, multicellular organisms. We study them in microbiology because they are common vectors. So an arthropod is an insect or an arachnid. Arachnids can be spiders or mites. And these serve as vectors of many different diseases, but they are often vectors of our worms, which is why I like to talk about them here. And you saw that in a lot of the examples that I was showing you. Arthropods can be mechanical vectors. A mechanical vector is a vector that transfers pathogens from one surface to another. So think of a mosquito, or not a mosquito, a fly that lands on a pile of poop. Say a dog poops, a fly lands on it, and then it moves from that pile of poop to a hamburger that you're eating. That would be mechanical vectoring on their feet. Okay. A biological vector is a vector that is an essential portion of the life cycle. So in this case, a biological vector, you're going to have a part of the parasite life cycle inside of the arthropod. An example is the Anopheles mosquito houses the sexual stage of the plasmodium. And then the human houses the asexual stage. So the Anopheles mosquito would be a biological vector. If we know what the vector is, then we can use that information, try to control the vector and control the disease. An example of this is Yersinia pestis. Yersinia pestis is bacteria, gram-negative bacteria that lives in rats. Rats are the reservoir for this pathogen. Rat fleas, then, when they take a blood meal from a rat, they will get sick because the Yersinia pestis sits in their basically in their gullet, and they can't eat anymore. They starve to death. Every time they try to eat, this bacteria is plugging up this area, so blood goes in, but they don't get the nutrients, and so they end up throwing up all of the nutrients that they have. And that's how we spread Yersinia pestis. And so what we can do is we can control the reservoir, the rats, or control, and in doing so, we're eliminating the rat fleas, and we decrease the likelihood of plague being spread. So let's look at different types of vectors. Mosquitoes are a type of fly. Flies are probably the most common vector. Mosquitoes insert a tube known as a proboscis into the skin. They ingest a blood meal, and when they do, they can pick up infectious agents, or they can transfer the agents to a host. This is how malaria, which is protozoan, yellow fever, dengue fever, West Nile encephalitis, these are all viruses, are transmitted. Fleas are wingless insects that can jump super far. So this is a flea. They are laterally flattened, so they're super, super thin looking. And They usually don't cause a lot of problems. They cause itchiness, but they can transmit certain pathogens. The most common is Yersinia pestis, which causes plague. So when the fleas pick up plague bacterium, the bacterium multiplies and blocks the digestive tract in the flea. So the flea is starving, it will start biting anything, and fleas will jump from one. Fleas don't really care. So fleas might be a rat flea, but a rat flea will eat from a horse, from a pig, a human. They don't care really. They might prefer rats, but they don't really care. So they will jump from one host to another, and when they do, they bite another host. They drink blood, but then they end up vomiting that blood back into the host. And when they vomit the blood back into the host, some of the pathogen, some of the Yersinia pestis comes out too, and that's how plague is spread. Fleas can live in vacant areas for months without any food. They can just kind of lie dormant. But if people come into the area, or if animals come into the area, they will quickly mature, and they will start jumping to greet their new hosts and get some food. And so here's a rat being asked questions, about plague. And here's a little kind of cartoon about, can Rodney come out and plague? Ha ha ha. Just kind of little cute jokes. Lice. Lice are small, wingless insects as well, but these are dorsoventrally flattened, kind of like cockroaches. They're very thin dorsoventrally. And they have special appendages that allow them to attach and hold on to hair so that they can stay on an individual. Lice are specific to certain organisms. So there are human lice, there are also turkey lice, there are bird lice. If there's turkey lice or bird lice around, they're not going to be able to infect you. They can bite you, but they can't infect you and stay with you. Pediculus humanus is human lice, and this is the head lice that is spread from one individual to another by either direct contact or by contact with personal items. So if you're sharing brushes or hats, they can only survive a very few days without a host. Body lice can be transmitted from one individual to another by close contact or sharing clothing. Body lice don't live on the body, they live in the clothing. So these are typically associated with very close quarters and unkempt conditions. So if people aren't washing their clothes all the time and stuff like that. Pediculus humanus does not transmit any, or I should say, head lice do not transmit disease. Body lice do transmit disease, or they can transmit disease. Two diseases, typhus and trench fever, are examples of diseases that body lice can transmit. And here's a picture of head lice. Here's body lice, and then pubic lice are a special type of lice that look like microscopic crabs, which is where the word crabs came from. These live in the pubic region, and they have special adaptations on their legs to allow them to hold on to those very coarse hairs of the pubic region. I'm going to stop here with this video because it's been almost 10 minutes, and we'll get into ticks in our next video. Bye.